So I'm Andrew Zelenetz from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and I'm here to talk to you today about lymphoma classification. Now, lymphoma classification is something that is like death and taxes. It's inevitable. We keep changing it. And why do we keep changing it? Because we're increasingly, year after year, learning more about the biology of lymphoma, and it helps us better understand the diseases we're treating. The most recent update to the WHO classification was in 2017, and the current classification, and it depends on how you count, has between 80 and 100 individual subtypes of lymphoma. So when you say to a lymphoma doctor, non-Hodgkin lymphoma, they're going to say, oh, well, that's really a very general, generic term, and because the subtypes are so critical. Now, it's true, we don't have 80 to 100 unique treatments, but by subdividing the diseases into these individual categories, we really learn about how the diseases behave, and increasingly, we're learning about the Achilles heel of different subtypes and allow us to try to develop more personalized medicine. We're not quite there. It's not quite the time for personalized medicine in lymphoma, though we're starting to move in that direction. And it's based on our understanding of the biology, and that comes from the subclassification of lymphomas. Broadly, it's really important to know whether you have an aggressive lymphoma or an indolent lymphoma. Aggressive lymphomas, like Burkitt lymphoma, diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, high-grade lymphoma, these are potentially curable diseases. That is the goal of treatment, that we're going to give an aggressive chemotherapy regimen, often with chemoimmunotherapy, and the goal is cure. And fortunately, we succeed often. Then there's the whole group of what we call the indolent lymphomas. Not a great term because a lot of people don't even know what indolent means, but these are the slow-growing tumors. Now, the good news here is they have a very long natural history, and with new treatments, people actually live about as long as we'd expect for age-matched controls. So that's the good news. The bad news is, to do that, you need multiple treatments because these diseases are not curable with our conventional treatments, and we have to use multiple treatments over a period of many years. And so understanding whether you have an aggressive lymphoma or an indolent lymphoma, and of the indolent lymphomas, do you have the very indolent lymphomas, or do you have the more aggressive indolent lymphomas? Sometimes that can only be determined by your clinical presentation and what you're telling the doctor and what the doctor is learning from the tests that are done. And that's going to dramatically influence how your doctor is going to approach your lymphoma and what recommendations for treatment. I always like to tell a story to my patients of a patient came early in my career and walked into my office after waiting and having talked to a lot of people in the waiting room and walking in and saying, I don't think I should be here. And I said, why not? And I said, you don't know what you're doing. I just spoke to 3 people and you didn't treat any of them the same way and they have the same diagnosis I do. And I said, let me explain your disease, and if you don't think I know what I'm doing, you don't ever have to come back. 18 years later, I'm still treating this woman, and she's doing fine. But that's the important thing, is that these are very variable diseases. Someone with diagnosis of, say, follicular lymphoma can have a very different course and prediction just by that one subcategory of lymphoma. So classification is complex. It's getting better, and it's giving us more insights into the biology, so it's going to allow us to improve treatments, and it also is very important in helping select treatment.